The muffled whisper cut through the London night like a blade. 4 digits, remember? She's got nearly $95,000 sitting there. Marcus was feeding his mother, Elena, the PIN to my debit card, completely unaware I was wide awake beside him. But instead of panic, a ghost of a smile touched my lips. I closed my eyes and stayed perfectly still, letting him believe his secret was safe. Welcome back. I'm thrilled to share another gripping tale with you today. Settle in and enjoy. I've never considered myself paranoid, just aware. At 39, I'd learned that people betray you not with grand gestures, but with tiny inconsistencies. A pause before answering, eyes that won't meet yours, hands that fidget when they lie. Marcus had been lying constantly for nearly 3 weeks now, and I noticed everything. It started that Wednesday morning when he brought me tea in bed, unprompted, on a workday. My eyes opened to find my husband standing there, Earl Grey steaming in a porcelain cup, smiling too widely. Marcus never brought me tea. Not in our 7 years of marriage, not even during our honeymoon in Cornwall when we'd pretended to be madly in love. Why so early? I asked, propping myself against the headboard. His smile faltered for just a microsecond. Slept brilliantly. Wanted to surprise you, darling. That tiny hesitation before surprise was what betrayed him. I took the cup and sipped. The tea was overly sweet, though I hadn't taken sugar in nearly 6 years. Thank you, I said. It's lovely. He left for the kitchen, whistling something cheerful, and I remained sitting, staring out the window. Outside, a fine October drizzle painted London grey and dreary, matching my growing unease perfectly. At work, I tried focusing on spreadsheets. Accounting had always been my sanctuary, a world of logic where numbers never lied. But my thoughts kept circling back like vultures. Marcus was acting strange, not just unusual, but calculated. He'd become overly attentive, suspiciously caring. It felt more unsettling than outright hostility. On Friday, he brought home flowers. A massive bouquet of white roses and yellow lilies wrapped in expensive paper, completely unprompted. I took them, thanked him, and searched for a vase while my hands trembled slightly. In 7 years together, Marcus had bought me flowers exactly 3 times. 2 birthdays and 1 Valentine's Day he'd clearly forgotten until the last minute. Do you like them? He asked from the doorway, hands shoved deep in his pockets. They're beautiful, I replied, trimming stems with scissors. He stood there watching me, as if he wanted to say something important, but didn't. He just nodded and walked away. I placed the vase on the windowsill and wiped my hands. Something was brewing. I felt it in my bones, that ancient feminine instinct that never lies. By evening, Marcus started asking questions. We were sitting in the kitchen. I was reheating dinner while he scrolled through his phone. Suddenly, without looking up, he said, "Hey, how much have you saved for the renovation?" I froze with the ladle midair. Why do you ask? Just curious. You wanted to redo the bathroom, right? Do you have enough? I slowly served the soup into bowls. Yes, I have enough. You sure? Maybe it's better to save a bit more. Don't rush it. I sat across from him and picked up my spoon. Marcus, I've been saving for 4 years. I have enough. He nodded, but clearly my answer didn't satisfy him. He was expecting something else. Numbers, perhaps. Specifics. And how much is there in total? He asked, attempting casualness. You know, in the account. I looked him straight in the eye. Enough. He offered a strained laugh. All right, if you don't want to say, don't. I just wanted to know in case you needed help. Help? From Marcus, who hadn't contributed to groceries even once in 7 years? I finished my soup in silence. Everything inside me went cold, crystalline. But my face remained perfectly calm. That was my greatest talent, never showing what churned beneath the surface. Money. So it was about the money. I did have a substantial amount, nearly $95,000. It was an inheritance from my Aunt Margaret, the only person who'd ever truly loved me unconditionally. Aunt Margaret had passed 3 years ago, leaving me a small flat in Brighton and her life savings. I sold the flat, combined everything, and decided to save it slowly for renovations, perhaps travel, or simply peace of mind. Marcus knew about the inheritance. 3 years ago, he'd even suggested I invested in some friend's cryptocurrency scheme. I refused, gently but firmly. Since then, money hadn't been mentioned between us until this week. On Saturday, Marcus started taking interest in my handbag, subtly at first. "Your phone wasn't ringing, was it?" Then he rummaged around looking for a charger, claiming his was broken. I watched as he quickly glanced at my wallet sitting on the dresser. On Sunday, he suggested opening a joint bank account. "It's easier that way," he argued. "We can save together, spend together. We're married, Sophie." I stood at the mirror, braiding my hair, watching his reflection. He sat on the bed's edge, sweet and caring and lying so badly it was almost embarrassing to witness. "I'm fine with my own account," I replied calmly. "I'm used to it." He frowned. "That's silly. We've been together 7 years, and you still act like we're strangers." "I'm not a stranger. I just prefer managing my own finances." He didn't press further, but spent the entire day moody and withdrawn. I thought, remembered, analyzed. 7 years ago, I'd married Marcus almost by accident. He was charming, easygoing, knew exactly what to say. I was 32 and tired of being alone. Everyone around me kept saying, it's time. So I gave in. The first year was tolerable. Not bliss, but not misery either. Just ordinary life. He worked as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company. I managed accounts for a construction firm. We watched Netflix in the evenings and visited his mother Elena's cottage in Kent on weekends. Elena Whitmore, my mother-in-law. She was the true architect of all problems in our marriage. She appeared in our lives with alarming regularity. One moment she needed help with council tax, the next she needed money for prescriptions, or she just needed to visit because she was lonely. I endured it at first out of politeness, then habit. Elena was an imposing woman, tall, substantial, with perfectly styled silver hair and a permanently displeased expression. She felt the world owed her something. Marcus owed her, and her daughter-in-law certainly owed her too. 3 years ago, when I received the inheritance, Elena suddenly became especially sweet. She'd bring homemade scones, ask about my health, even offer compliments. I wasn't fooled. I saw how she looked at my new handbag, the updated furniture, my latest iPhone. She'd drop hints about how nice it would be to help a struggling pensioner, how small her pension was, how expensive everything had become. I'd nod sympathetically, but never gave her money. Elena took offense and didn't call for 4 months. Now apparently, she'd decided to operate through her son. I went to bed late that night. Marcus was already snoring, sprawled across half the bed. I lay staring at the ceiling, knowing something significant was about to happen. A strange calm grew inside me. Not fear, not panic, just profound stillness. Cold and hard, like ice. I'd learned this in childhood when my parents fought bitterly until dawn. I learned not to show emotion, not to scream back, just to wait until the storm passed and then do what was necessary. A new storm was approaching now, and I knew I needed to be ready. The next morning, I rose early, dressed, and left the flat without waking Marcus. It was chilly outside, wind whipping at my gray coat. I walked quickly, almost on autopilot. The local branch of Barclays Bank opened exactly at 9. I was third in line. A young clerk with tired eyes listened to my request and nodded. "Yes, we can change your PIN. Of course, that's quick." "And can I add another service?" I asked. "I need a notification sent to your security department if anyone attempts to withdraw a large sum." The clerk looked at me carefully. "Are you concerned about fraud?" Something like that. 20 minutes later, everything was done. The PIN on my main account card, where the $95,000 sat, was changed. The old PIN, 7249, remained on my spare card, the one with exactly $250 on it. I'd set it up years ago for small purchases, but had long stopped using it. Now, that card might prove invaluable. I left the bank and paused on the steps, breathing in the cold October air. People rushed to work, dragging shopping bags. An ordinary morning in an ordinary city. But inside me, everything had changed. I was ready. That evening, Marcus started the conversation about money again, more carefully this time, avoiding sharp edges. "Hey, have you thought about opening a savings ISA?" he asked, poking at his pasta. "The interest rates are decent, smart move." I shrugged. "I've thought about it, but haven't decided yet." "What if the card gets stolen or the account gets hacked? There are so many scams these days." He smirked. "They won't steal it." "What makes you so confident?" "Because, Marcus, your mother is going to try to steal it," I wanted to say. But I kept silent, only looking at him with a long, calm gaze. He was the first to look away. The night was quiet. I lay listening to the trees rustling outside and distant traffic. Marcus's breathing was steady, almost silent. I knew he wasn't asleep. I felt it, and I knew everything would change very soon. In 7 years of marriage, I'd learned to read him not just through his eyes and tone. I'd learned to anticipate. The premonition now was crystal clear. Well, let them try. I would wait. The next morning started with a phone call. I just stepped out of the shower when I heard Marcus's mobile ringing in the hallway. He grabbed it quickly, too quickly, and his voice sounded guarded. "Yeah, Mom. Hey." I wrapped myself in my robe and listened. The walls in our modest London flat were thin. You could hear almost everything. "Today? I don't know." Marcus went silent, apparently listening to Elena. "Okay, fine. Come around 7. I stepped out of the bathroom, drying my hair with a towel. Marcus stood by the mirror, buttoning his shirt, pretending not to notice my gaze. "Your mother is coming over?" I asked calmly. He shrugged. "Yeah, she wants to discuss some business matters." "I see." At work, I tried concentrating on reports, but my thoughts kept scattering. I pictured opening the door that evening and seeing Elena with her fake smile and that particular look. Greedy, assessing. Elena was skilled at playing the victim, a poor, lonely woman abandoned by everyone except her devoted son. In reality, she had a decent pension, a paid-off 2-bedroom flat in Croydon, and perfectly healthy legs. I got home exactly at 7. I climbed the 3 flights of stairs, unlocked the door, and immediately heard voices. Marcus and Elena were sitting in the kitchen drinking tea. A box of Marks & Spencer chocolate biscuits sat on the table, sticky and sickeningly sweet. "Oh, Sophie, come in, come in." Elena waved her hand as if inviting me into her own home. "Marcus and I are having tea. Join us." I took off my jacket, hung it up, and walked into the kitchen. Elena was dressed impeccably, a cream blouse, dark trousers, hair set in neat waves. "Hello, Elena." I sat on the edge of a chair and poured myself tea from the pot. "How are you, dear?" Elena was smiling, but her eyes were cold, calculating. "Working a lot. Tired as usual." "Oh, your work is so stressful. Numbers, reports. I'd go mad." Elena took a bite of biscuit and dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Marcus says you're planning to renovate the bathroom." I met her gaze. "I am." "It's probably expensive, isn't it? Everything's so pricey now. Tiles, fixtures, it's just awful." "I'll manage." Elena shook her head with the air of a life expert. "That's good, of course. But you know, Sophie, maybe you shouldn't rush it. Money sitting in the account is a good thing, a safety net, and the bathroom is fine as it is. It can wait." There it was. It's starting. I slowly stirred sugar into my tea. "I don't like the bathroom. I want to update it." "Well, I understand that. Elena leaned closer, cheap floral perfume wafting from her. But think about it. What if you need the money for something more important? Medical treatment, for example, or something else? Marcus sat silently, looking into his cup, his face strained. If I need it, I'll use it, I replied evenly. But I haven't needed it yet. Elena sighed theatrically. I, for example, saved all my life, penny by penny. And what happened? Now I'm retired, barely making ends meet. Utilities are expensive. Medication is expensive. At least Marcus helps out. I raised an eyebrow. He helps out? Marcus flinched. Well, sometimes I give her some cash, bring groceries. I nodded, calculating that about $400 monthly went to Elena from our household budget. Apparently, Marcus was helping with money he didn't have, judging by his constant debts to me. I've been thinking, Elena continued, examining her nails. Maybe I should sell my flat. My 2-bedroom in Croydon must be worth quite a bit. I could sell it, buy something smaller on the outskirts, and live on the difference. I sipped my tea. It was hot, scalding my lips. Not a bad idea. Elena looked up sharply. You really think so? Of course. If you need money, that's the logical option. Elena went quiet, clearly expecting something else. Then she smiled, but the smile was crooked. Yes, I suppose so. For now, maybe I don't have to sell. Maybe there's another way. She stopped, staring at me expectantly. Both were waiting for me to offer help myself, to say, don't sell it. Here's some money. Live in peace. I finished my tea and stood up. I'm going to change. Long day. I left the kitchen, feeling their gazes burn into my back. In the bedroom, I closed the door and sat on the bed's edge. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from cold, quiet, grinding rage. They wanted my money. It was obvious. Elena hadn't come for tea. She came to test me, and Marcus sat there silent, complicit, waiting. I listened closely. Voices started again in the kitchen, quieter now, muffled. I got up, went to the door and cracked it open slightly.